I mean, this is, definitely one of the times where failing to plan is planning to fail, because there's just no way to do it. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of people do is let's build the incident response plan while there's an incident.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
No, it's not. It's like, let's build the car while we're driving it. It's just not going to go well.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle from Cardin. What's happening, Donna?
This, that, and the other. It's finally become winter, and I don't care for that at all.
No, I hate it. Hate it.
Burr. That's all I got to say, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So, any good Thanksgiving stories? We're just coming out of Thanksgiving as we're recording this, so it's. I mean, for me, nobody got hit with anything. Nobody got caught on fire.
No blood.
No, nobody had to go to the ER. Did catch a good football game over the weekend. I was
a couple of really good ones. I was happy you were happy. That rarely happens.
I know. But yeah, it was good football weekend. But yeah, and I'm feeling better. I sounded terrible last week, so still got a little bit lingering there, but overall doing well. Went to my doc. She said, "You have a lot of problems, but your health ain't one of them." You'll be fine.
Get out.
Yeah. So kind of like, it was one of those visits where it's like, nothing much we can do. Just, take some over-the-counter stuff, put some vitamin C in you, and let it run its course. Yeah,
that knot on your head is always going to be there. Just go on.
Yep. Yeah. Something on top of my shoulders. I just can't figure it out. So anyway, today we'll be talking about the incident panic to plan for SMB execs.
The Health Sector Coordinating Council released our thing that we're a part of, Cybersecurity Working Group, has a bunch of different working groups, and we're going to be becoming more active in the HSCC side because of some restructuring that's going on. But it's still, we're the only ones there that represent small and medium businesses, really. And, they're shocked to understand that you do have to discuss things a bit differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to, that's no. That won't even hit our radar, but this will. But that we released, the official name is the From Panic to Plan Executive Strategies for Handling Cybersecurity Incidents. So we're going to do Panic to Plan for SMB. We're going to try to narrow it down a little bit and say, look, go get this because you need the details, but we're going to give you an overview of how you would use it in the small group so that it'll make a little bit more sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for those folks who are like, we can't afford, resources. Well, here's yet another free resource for you to take and use it.
And this is all about just planning things, not buying, planning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
or planning to buy.
Plan something. Just have a plan.
Yeah. I know. So, but yeah, we'll dive into that in a little bit. But before we do, I want to say thanks to those who follow us and share this out on social media and all the other platforms that you might be on. We appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And as always, you can head over to helpmewithhipaa.com to find out more about Donna and myself and our day jobs to help pay the bills.
Because we do need those.
We do. All right, let's jump into our briefs. The HIPAA briefs, that is. I have to say, it was very early this morning when I saw this OCR notification come in, and I read it this way: Holy Reindeer Hospital. Don't ask me why.
Because you're in the spirit. You're in the spirit. Oh, good Lord. I mean, I get it because I understand you after all these years, but oh man.
I know. I was like, Holy Reindeer Hospital. Who would name a place?
Santa has to have a reindeer hospital.
I know. And I went back and looked at it closely. And when I say that, I literally looked at it closely. I had to lean into the monitor. Oh, Holy Redeemer Hospital. Oh.
Okay. Now we can work with him a little bit.
But that's what happens before my first cup of coffee. Just so you know.
I just stare out the window. And, yeah, when I was visiting my brother, he's like, I got the best staring window. And he does. He has a great staring window. It's a great view. And he knew there we stood with our coffee staring. Yeah, he's fun. All right, but let's knock this out so we can do panic to plan. We're not panicking to plan. We're going from, you know what I'm saying. Moving right along. So the Holy Reindeer Hospital.
See, now you can't unsee it.
I can't unsee it. Anyway, OCR got a complaint from a patient who said that she had requested that she was a patient of the Holy Redeemer, I had to concentrate, family medicine. And she said that she asked them to send one specific test result to a prospective employer. So who knows what it is? They required some test result. She already had it. Rather than doing it again, she asked for it to go. And this is where the people who are like, well, we just always send everything should stop what they're doing.
Yeah. No, don't do that.
Yeah. And you know, we have people, all we asked for was this, and then they sent us the whole file. What do we do with the whole file? We don't want it. We don't need it. You know, then you've got to safely destroy it. Don't do that. And this is just another reason why, because when you package up and send an entire record to whoever's on the authorization list or the authorization form, because there had to have been one, at that point, all I'm saying is you have made a royal mistake. And if you sent the whole thing, which is what they did, I would be angry. I don't know about you. I would be so mad.
I'd be furious.
My head would explode.
Let me ask you this, though. Is there not a reason that the person could have asked for whatever the results were themselves and then sent that to the employer? I mean, that's kind of the safer way to go, maybe. No,
but if you do that, then there's the question of, you know, now you don't have that, what do they call it? You know, the holding the evidence, you know, so now
chain
I
of
have
custody?
it. Yeah, the chain of custody. There's the word I was looking for, or the phrase.
I gotcha.
So they want it to come directly from the doctor's office so that they know it's, you know,
the real,
the real thing. You know, you could, if they took it just from anybody, you know, they have to have it come from them.
Can you ask to review it before they send it?
Well, I'm sure you could, but if she said, can I review that test result, you know, and it still wouldn't stop them from sending the whole thing, even if she just said it again. She said, I don't know how, because they are clearly in the habit of sending the whole thing. Well, not anymore, we would hope.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably not the first time. It's just the first time that it probably got reported.
Yeah. And because this young woman's reproductive health information was in there and that new rule was in play at this time, that's, you know, what they're bringing up. But it's a violation even without that you could file a complaint. But, you know, they're bringing it up because it's a new rule. It gets them to bring that up for enforcement purposes. But, man, it would have been like, I think everyone would have known I was mad about something in like a 20-mile radius if they had done this. So immediately after, they on November 1st, so the September 27th, 2023 is when they sent it to the prospective employer, and all they were authorized to send was one test. Then the complaint comes in still in September, so it had to have happened right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then November 1st, they were like, hey, we're going to do an investigation. You better gather all your ducks. And, a couple of your ducks apparently were geese and not paying attention. One may have been drunk. I don't know. Had extra wine in the Holy Reindeer family practice. So they agreed to a settlement because I was thinking this is not going to. Now, the good news.
That's in your best interest, that's for sure.
Yeah. So they paid a settlement amount of $35,581, which again shows you, they're trying to do enforcement, but their enforcement is not, it's not that intense compared to other things. But they paid that, and they're on a 2-year cap.
Mm-hmm.
And the cap requires them to submit a breach notification because this is a breach. So and unfortunately, it's like, are you going to notify the patient just to piss him off again? I don't know. They didn't mention that, and I would not want to be the one that was doing that, but they're going to have to do it in their annual report.
So I do want to bring up, because I take every opportunity I can to bring this up.
Uh-oh.
Because somebody went to great lengths to argue with me in an IT forum that a breach of one record is not reportable.
That is wrong.
That is definitely wrong. Here we are with a breach of one record that was reported. Now, what he was probably trying to say is that it doesn't show up on the breach portal because it has to be 500 or more. That's the thought I had initially, but when I asked him that, he's like, "No, that's not what that's not what I meant." I meant that no breaches under 500 are reportable. You don't have to report any of them. I'm like, "Oh no, that is not right."
No.
This also indicates for those folks out there who believe OCR never investigates small breaches.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do. And it's a big variable. So anyhow, the settlement, they've got to submit this, and the one-off breaches, you can do them as they occur, or you can do them all at the same time. As long as you do them now, it's 60 days by the end of the year, and then everybody's like, well, do I have to March, or is it a leap year? Just do it by the end of February. It's a day different. It's not going to matter. Do it by the end of February. Don't get into that. And really, you don't want to wait till the last day to do these things. Just get them done.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to revise and implement HIPAA compliant privacy policies and procedures, train the workforce members on actual privacy protocols. And of course, they're going to have to do that reporting on how well they're doing for 2 years. So that's, a key thing of, the OCR's involved in monitoring. You send your policies and procedures, and they say, make these changes, and then you make them, and then they send them back. And then when they say they're good, then the clock starts, and you've got to get everybody trained and all that documentation done so you can supply that back to them. And I mean, there is a lot that happens on these corrective action plans. So, they're not all, wine and roses. But it is important to note that you should be very specific when a patient is very specific. And don't do this. Please don't ever do this. Evaluate what your policy is, and evaluate what's actually happening, because it may not be your policy, but it could be actually happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We've always done it that way. No, we haven't.
It's not even in the policy that way. No.
Yeah. That's when you find out that, 3 employees ago, somebody changed the way they were training somebody.
Yeah. I didn't agree. So I decided we were going to do it different, and nobody said anything. So I kept doing it.
It's just easier to send the whole record. So that's what we started doing. We just didn't tell anybody. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of panic to plan, let's switch over to talking about incident panic to plan for SMB execs.
Yeah. So this is the Cyber Incident Response Executive Checklist. And it is designed, it's not long because everybody knows can't give a very long document. And, they have to have all of the resources and stuff. I mean, the entire document is 10 pages, but it's 3 pages of acknowledgments because they have to do that. 1 page of additional resources. So the meat of it is 3 pages total, right?
Yeah.
So just take those, the cover sheet and the table of contents. Maybe you could include, I don't know. But
was there this page left blank intentionally?
Yeah, I know, right? But here is the concept here is to explain to leaders, executives, what they need to know and have a plan for a cyber attack, a cyber incident of some sort. And if you don't even know what that is, or it's called David, then you should read this because there's only so much David can do and there's only so much I could do.
The funny part about it is when you call me, I'm going to say, what does your incident response plan say?
Yeah. So they broke it down, and it is into incident response, business continuity, communications. That's it. It's just those 3 sections. Now, we're going to break it down a little more to make it a little easier to follow, and hopefully that'll help. So the first section, and again, everything that we're saying is pretty much in that discussion. We're just making it even shorter so that you could then go read the details. I strongly encourage you to go read the details. We're not going to go into every detail for a reason. We want you to get this so that you will go read that.
That's right.
We're not going to cover all the details. We want you to use the actual checklist. But
what about you, Seth?
I know, I got to pull that video. I love that kid. No. What about you, Seth? All right. So first we have, incident response preparedness. So this is, you actually need a plan. These are the kind of things you need to think about in your plan. Like, have a dedicated response team.
Yeah.
Wait, we talk about that. It's in HIPAA. It's in HICCUP. It's in the NIST cybersecurity framework. It's in all, anything that you look up about how to manage your business where cyber attacks and incidents could happen. It will say, have a plan. So establish the response team.
The dedicated response team, not the ad hoc response team. We have an incident. Let's start assigning things to people.
Yeah. Hey, who's here today?
Yeah. So, but that gives you the ability to train those folks or cross train them in what they'll be doing when the fires are burning.
Right. It's a lot of different moving parts, and the most important thing for you to learn right now, if you were just starting out to learn this, is that this is not an IT thing. IT will have their own little plan that you don't need to understand, but somebody's got to run the business. IT's not going to run the business. They're busy.
Yep.
You just ask them to be busy.
In fact, you probably need to dedicate a person to keeping them away from the IT team.
Yes. That would be a thing. Don't bother them. Let them do their job. Have somebody communicate on their behalf. Do not stand over them.
Yeah.
Right? So
I love how long is it going to take? The longer you stand there, the longer this will take.
right. So you have the team, and it could have, people that work in your organization. It could have people like me and David. It could have your IT provider. You could have your lawyer, whoever you're going to count on, your accountant if you need to, because somebody's got to worry about things going poorly and having to make quick decisions when you can't access your computers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that team, and then you develop and test a plan that you put together to deal with all these things we're about to take you through, and make sure that you pre-engage your cybersecurity and insurance partners.
Yeah.
If your insurance requires you to use a certain cybersecurity firm, then you need to know that, because it could impact a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of variables that you need to understand with your cyber coverage. If you're relying on it at all, you need to know what it's going to require you to do. If
Mm-hmm.
not, then you could get your own cyber response team. But also, if you have, as we've talked about, there's IT and cybersecurity, two different things now. So it's possible you have an IT provider and a cybersecurity provider. You want them both on your response team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to have all of that knowledge, have everybody gathered. You've got some protocols in place. That's what the incident response plan is. And so, the idea is we have to limit the damage, mitigate the damage, investigate the damage, and keep the business running and know what's going to happen with the business operations while that's taking place. Because that ain't something you're going to do like in a minute or two.
No. I mean, this is, definitely one of the times where failing to plan
Yeah.
is planning to fail, because there's just no way to do it. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of people do is let's build the incident response plan while there's an incident.
Yeah. It doesn't
And
go
that's,
well.
no, it's not. It's like, let's build the car while we're driving it. It's just not going to go very well.
Yeah. And so, one of the things that you'll also see is build it while you're driving it. Maybe I did try to build one, but I didn't really plan enough. So I'm going to figure it out as I go, even though I built a plan, because I didn't truly understand what should be in the plan.
Yeah.
And that's how this checklist really helps.
Right. And that's because you don't test your plans typically.
Well, you don't. Yeah. Well, it's how you test it. You could test it by sitting down and saying, okay, we just got a call that everything got encrypted, everybody's locked out, and we have disconnected from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the test to sit down and think about it, right? But there's a lot more to it. So,
Well, I think it was Mike Tyson that said everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so you've got to have the overall plan. It's important that you understand that, and it doesn't have to be a data breach for, there's incidents and there's data breaches, and, they're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Incidents mean something blew up, right? Data breach means something blew out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, incidents can be minor, major, everywhere in between.
That's why we call it boom. Left of boom, right of boom. So left of boom is what you should be doing now. That's what we're talking about now. Left of boom. Right of boom is how well that plan will work.
Yeah. I mean, in some cases, like for us, we even consider things like, let's say a user set up a new email rule. We actually use that as a security incident.
Yeah, can be.
So we look at that because we get a notification that it happened, and we look at that and we make a determination. Is that something that was supposed to be there? Is it malicious? Is it, whatever it is, we treat that like a security incident, even though it was like, dude, I just set up an email rule. I get it, but that's also part of what the bad guys often do.
Yeah.
And so when those things happen, it could be somebody who works in your organization setting up things to go to their home email address or whatever the case might be. Mm-hmm. But it's still, for us, it's still a security incident and that we want to investigate. And most of the time it takes 60 seconds to investigate it.
You hope that's it. It's done. Check.
Yep. But you always want to look. Never assume.
Yeah. So part of, your incident response plan is defining what an incident is, because it's much broader than what most people say, well, an incident is a ransomware attack. It can be a lot more than just that. So you need to understand you may not have gotten ransom, but you may have an infiltration. You've got suspicious activity on your network and you're trying to figure that out. So those are all incidents that you could stop before it gets worse, but you're still going to have to do the same thing. It's just how bad is the mitigation process? How long the investigation could be basically the same. The mitigation is what is you're narrowing down if you catch it faster. All right. So you've got the plan concept. You need a plan. And the purpose of the plan is you're going to have all of that activity taking place and you've got that team. But as an executive, you've got to make sure that the business keeps moving. You're not just shut the business down until this is done, because you've got to prepare for this to go on for a prolonged amount of time.
Yeah.
Your plan should not be that this is going to be an afternoon. If it's an afternoon, consider yourself lucky.
Really.
You need to plan. I don't see how you could have an incident response plan that didn't at least plan first off 3, 4, 5 days down, full downtime. And then work your way backwards from that as your incident progresses. But you should assume you're going to be down for days and then have some additional notes about what it is if it's weeks. What if I lose access to an entire building for months? Those kind of things. It's more than just, there's a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think you and I were talking one time and I just went online to try to make a payment to one of my insurance providers and they got hit with a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
And this has been 3-4 months ago. And I'm still having to physically mail them checks because their online payments are still not up and running.
That says, that tell you. I think just recently Change Healthcare said they were officially through with the February attack, had everything back up and running.
Wow. So was that 9 months?
Probably. They had a baby.
9-10 months. They probably would have rather had a baby.
I know, right? But your business continuity part of the plan is you have to be able to say, okay, what is impacted? How do we prioritize what we can get back up and running while we're dealing with this incident? How are we going to do that? How are we going to communicate everything? What is it we need to make sure that we're doing and involving? You got the regulatory part of it. And if you wait and do that at the end, you're going to have issues, guaranteed. So you've got a ton of layers that your business continuity is going to need to look at. And if you are a health delivery organization, you are providing care, then that point of providing care is being available and having the tools available to do that and to communicate with the patients and all of those pieces and parts. So are you going to have personal hotspots that everybody can use to get to a cloud app, assuming the cloud apps are available? What about your telehealth apps? What about your medical devices? What is it that you would need? And you need to know and prioritize what things you need in what order. So if I absolutely have to have product A up and running, but it won't run unless product B is up and running, guess what? Product B has to come first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have to understand that so that you can devote the right resources and make sure that you have a plan, because anything that keeps B up from going up and running is going to block you from the others. So you have to know those dependencies. And don't just say, well, we're going to call David and he's going to bring us 50 new computers. Ain't going to happen. He would just laugh and hang up. So there are several things that are under the list of business continuity for you to go through, and I strongly encourage you to do that because it's keeping the business running. So if you are a service provider to the medical entities, you need to understand that if they can't provide care because you're not available, then guess what? You know, you are preventing patient care and could be impacting patient safety. So as a service provider, you must have that top of mind. You know, it was like I was at a party. So first of all, I was at a party. Let's just say that. And it was with one of my bourbon buddies, and we had like 6 bourbons we were all brought to try. But he works in financials, and he's like, yeah, I get so frustrated. We have all of these cybersecurity rules, and the executives just ignore us. And I was like, yeah, I totally understand that. That can be frustrating, but at least in your world, people don't die, you know, because they ignore it. And he was like, oh, wow, you're right. Big difference. I'm like, yeah, if our executives ignore it, people can die. And he was like, oh, it changes everything. Do you have another bourbon? Let's try another bourbon right away. So, yes, it is a very important thing to understand that when you work in this industry. So, all right. So, business continuity. Here is a key thing that is always done wrong. I think we did a whole episode on this. I think we've talked about it many times. Communication strategies.
We've never talked about that.
Do you know how many people it doesn't even trigger with them that most phone systems now go through the internet?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially around the hurricane season, have learned a lot about how phone systems work.
Yeah.
I mean, I had several of my clients that, you know, we're down, our internet's down, and they won't be up for days. We can't get phones to work. Right. And they called their local phone company and said, how long would it take to get us a regular phone line? We'll have you one in within 30 days.
Yeah. Because it's a crisis in the entire area.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But that goes back to the same thing that you were talking about, of understanding how things are connected, what depends on what. Mm-hmm. So what depends on your internet connection? What is running because of that? It could be phone systems. It can be security systems run on that now. Mm-hmm. Some things are, you know, power over Ethernet, which doesn't have anything to do with internet, but still, if some of that equipment goes down, it's going to lose power.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, heating and air connects through the internet. Is it going to cause it to shut down? You know, mm-hmm. What other things are going to get shut down when the internet isn't, you know, operating?
That's when you realize that one central location that handles all the automation of everything, mm-hmm. it's not communicating with stuff, and you didn't know that it communicated with so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have to know, how are you going to communicate internally with your staff, with your external partners who are on your response plan or in your response team, with your external mm-hmm. partners who aren't on the response team. One of the big things, if you're a health delivery organization, if you're down and let's say that you're, you know, like we had in Oklahoma, the allergy clinic went down, and there's one allergy clinic other than them, they should have notified the other one to say, we can't help anybody. And with allergies, if you don't get your, injection, then things could go horribly awry. So you might have a peer organization that you would notify. It could be that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was really fascinating that we were looking at when I was at the HSCC all hands meeting in San Diego was that they are sitting in, cybersecurity professors and fellows and all of this are sitting there saying, could we bring up an entire hospital network without the network infrastructure? How could we do that? And they're actually building plans to go and be able to do that. The other thing, though, is how can we recognize when a hospital has been hit and having an incident so that they don't have to tell everybody else will know and do things. And they're finding ways that they can monitor that suddenly traffic has stopped at this whole area. Then somebody needs to look into it, what's going on, and it alerts people. And now we have an alert system so that the regional locations can be prepared because every report, every analysis, all the statistics, one entity within the system goes down, it will impact all the others in the region. And it doesn't matter what it is. So we're doing some cool things. However, that we ain't doing that yet. And even if we do, we're not going to do it on all of the other physician offices or, clinics and stuff. So you have to have that plan of other healthcare organizations. Your vendors got to be able to talk to them, and you better know who to talk to. Mm-hmm. And then the public, because people be like out on social media telling everybody else.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan, and we talked repeatedly about be careful what you say on social media.
Yeah. Your employees will definitely get on social media and talk.
And so will everybody else. So you have to have a plan, and you want to proactively create templates for each of those different audiences. You don't want to be figuring out what you're going to say in this crisis moment. You want to already have like the beginning part where all you do is fill in what everybody decides is going to be said about this particular instance. But all of we take this seriously and we intend to do this, and, we have these plans in place, and this is how you contact us, and this is what, all that should already be written down. And then, of course, you have to bring in law enforcement because, again, if we're not trying to, arrest these people for these crimes, then they're never going to stop. And you should know who all of those contacts are. And not just like your local PD, but state and, Secret Service, the Treasury could be involved. The FBI could be involved. A long list depending on what the scenario is. Mm-hmm. And then have a plan to communicate regularly. You want to see things go off the rails. You have everything planned to tell everybody, don't worry, we got this. And then you say nothing for hours. It's not going to go well.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to over communicate during these.
Yes, but you want to do it in a controlled manner, not in a panic manner.
Right.
So you want the status updates. You want to be able to tell people, okay, if you had an appointment today, this is what you need to do. If you have one tomorrow or the next day, this is what you need to do. You want to make sure your staff understands that that's what people are being told to do and that they know how to tell people what to do. You want them to understand what to do if people start asking them things, whether it be patients or your clients or the news or grandma or Bubba down the street. Just wanting to know what's going on. Everybody needs to know how they're going to communicate, who they're going to communicate to, and what that message is. So that is the primary stuff, but don't leave out these other two pieces. And these two pieces are kind of spread in there. And I think we've talked about, I don't know, it was a while back, we did an episode on should you pay the ransom? Remember that?
Yeah.
And I think Australia just passed a law that says you can't, if you pay, you have to tell them, or you can't pay, or I don't remember, but it was something about paying the ransom, that if you pay a ransom, you have to notify, I think is what it was. Not just you can't pay.
Right.
But you need to know what the extortion policies are. Because, if you're going to say, we're not going to pay, I don't care what it is, that's a whole different approach for your team, your patients, your vendors, your IT folks, everybody. Then we're going to evaluate it, and our insurance will take over and decide how that's going to be handled, and negotiations and so on and so forth. Or something in between where you're going to decide which way to go. But you need to know those, and you're going to need to have a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Highly recommend that.
Well, not just, everybody's like, oh, HIPAA and, all the other legal regulatory things. No. Right now, within 2 weeks of this happening, somebody's going to file a class action lawsuit. So you need to have the lawyers along, because they'll know what happened.
Yep.
And certain things end up under privilege, so that, you get to explain your decision, but not have to explain how hard that decision was to make and how many things were involved. So it is absolutely essential that you get an attorney involved, and often your attorney is not your attorney, it's your insurance company's attorney. And you have to keep in mind, when your insurance company's covering this, they don't have your best interests at heart. They have lost too much money on these cyber claims. And if you have lied on your application and that comes out, it's going to get even worse.
Yeah, because they're going to look, all those things you said you were doing, you better hope you were doing them.
You better be able to prove it, because that means they could potentially try to argue that they don't have to cover you. And you definitely, to me, that's the biggest reason to make sure that you're doing all these things and you can prove it, is you're not going to get covered. That's the way it's getting to be. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. C'est la vie. All right. And then the last piece, supply chain and vendor management. What if the incident, it has to do with a critical vendor?
Yeah. Or that's where it started even.
Yeah. What if it came from them?
Right.
Yeah. And you want to know what your vendors are capable of doing, and that they're prepared to respond accordingly, because the last thing you want is for them to have not worried about being down 5 days, 10 days, 3-4 weeks. If they haven't worried about it and you're relying on them and they're very critical for your ability to operate, you have no incident, but they do, and they're down.
You talked about Change Healthcare earlier. How many providers had no idea that they were doing business with Change Healthcare somewhere down the line until that happened?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a lot of folks like, what do you mean Change Healthcare? I don't know, because so much of it's automated and goes behind the scenes. You don't even really pay attention to that. But you need to know where your risks are.
Right. Or it's two or three vendors down, like people. My clients know they're doing business with me, but they don't necessarily know that they might be doing business with CrowdStrike, or, fill in the blank on who the other vendors might be.
Yeah.
And so if one of those vendors has an issue, they're like, what do you mean we do business with them? Well, yeah, you do it through us. Right?
Yeah. So I better count on you, David, to make sure you have a plan for me when that vendor's down.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had that before personally, not with the remote monitoring vendor, but through like the remote access. Like our clients use our remote access to do remote work. And so we've had times where we've had one of those vendors go down, and now all of a sudden all of our clients that use that can't work remotely.
Yeah.
And so we have to have other ways for them to work. And, we have those things set up. And unfortunately, that means we have to pay for services that 99% of the time sit there and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
you love that.
It's just, yeah. And then people go, well, why is it so expensive? Look, because some of the stuff we have to pay for just in case you need it.
Yeah.
Because that's the prudent thing for us to do.
Well, and the other thing is, if I don't pay for this and you do need it, you're really going to be mad.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, it's definitely one of those pieces that often gets left out of the incident response plan is, what if the incident isn't with us? Mm-hmm. Where would an incident happen with one of our vendors that would impact us in the same way if they're not accessible to us?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, should be enough to make you lose a little bit of sleep.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but the main thing really, and we're still on this bandwagon of just trying to get people to pay attention and to start the process of having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Have a plan. That's step one. Then we can start looking at testing the plan. I don't know that we went far enough down the rabbit hole of having the plan yet to even get to the part where we're testing plans.
Nah. And we've done some really cool exercises. We love the exercise we do at the boot camp. That's always fun to see how people, and usually you get big eyes at the end of it, like, oh, we have got a lot to do. Hadn't thought of all of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things like our most important person, is having surgery today when this happens. And they are literally out,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought the boot camp up because I know we're a few months away from doing it in 2025, but it is an absolute must for anybody that's on your team, especially that handles compliance and things like that, to have them at a boot camp because they get exposed to so much information and so much actionable guidance on how to handle these things as well as tons of other stuff. Mm-hmm. It is unbelievably amazing. So when we do open up the ability for you to sign up for that, because it is very limited because, size of the room, I strongly suggest that you grab a ticket to that as soon as we make them available.
Ticket to ride, baby. A ticket to ride.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because we only do one a year, right? So
one live one a year. We're looking at alternatives, but right now, if you want to have that quality time with us, and with everything that's going on, we're looking at 4 full days now. It's 4 full days, and yes, we can talk about privacy and security for 4 full days. We could talk about it longer.
Oh yeah.
Technically, because we can't get to everything. We even have a pre-course because we can't get to all of that. You have to have all of the base knowledge before you walk in the door, or at least be exposed to it. So there's a lot, and we're looking at May, so stay in the loop, and we'll keep you in the loop if you send us a little thing saying, hey, I want to be in the loop.
Yeah, or you can just go ahead and buy up all the tickets and you don't have to worry about it.
Don't start, because then they're not out there, and now we get to where are the tickets David said I can buy.
Get the early bird special.
That's right.
Well, all right. That's it, folks. That's our show for today. So thanks for joining us, and make sure you grab these resources. There'll be links for everything on the website. So go check that out. Remember, it's helpmewithhippa.com. And also remember that you can follow us and share this out. So do that. Help us spread the word. We appreciate it. And remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.